Good morning. Happy Tuesday. Hi, everyone. Good morning. So excited to be here today. We are going. Hi, Yvonne. Good morning. There you are. Hi, everyone. Good morning. Thank you for joining us today. We are going live with Yvonne Haase. We are talking about toxic relationships this morning. So join us. Grab your cup of coffee and come chat with us. If you have any questions, put them in the comments. I'll be more than happy to answer them. Hey, Rebecca, good morning. Hi, Yvonne.
Hey, good morning. I have this
Good
piece of
morning.
hair this morning that won't lay down and is driving me insane. I look like this
I hate when
total.
that happens.
I have wet it, I have sprayed it, I have gelled it. The reality is I need some keratin.
Soon, my friend, soon.
Yes, yes. I, it's certainly not worth it to me to run out there right now, let me tell you. So, how are you doing this beautiful Tuesday morning?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
I am fabulous. I'm
Happy
ready for the
belated
day.
Mother's Day.
Aw, thank you.
Did you have a
Weirdest
good
Mother's
weekend?
Day ever.
What did you say?
Weirdest Mother's Day ever.
Tell me about it.
I mean, what kind of Mother's Day do you not get to see your mother? Like, that's bizarre.
I know.
But it was a relaxing day, so that part was nice.
Yeah. I got to see my mom, but it's, with the distance and not getting too close.
Crazy. I was watching all these videos of moms showing up at hospitals where their daughters and sons are nurses and doctors and wrapping their kids in a sheet so they can hug them.
Oh, how cute.
Oh my God, cried my eyes out.
See, I can do that. Wrap myself in a sheet and hug the heck out of my mom.
Yeah, you can.
There you go.
There you go. See, now mom's getting a hug. She'll be thrilled.
Yes, she will. So we're excited about being here this morning. I'm really enjoying our Tuesday mornings. Before I used to look forward to Taco Tuesday, and I look forward to Yvonne Tuesdays.
Me too. Me
Right?
too. Although I do like a nice taco, I have to admit.
Yeah, but that's later on tonight.
Yes.
So
How come it's not
breakfast in it.
Tequila Tuesday? I mean, that goes in line with tacos.
Hmm?
How come it's not Tequila Tuesday? I mean, that's in line with tacos. That could be
Yeah,
Taco Tequila Tuesday.
Tuesday. And then don't have too many because we work on Wednesdays.
Oh yeah, yeah, no, no, can't do that. But tequila is a probiotic. So it's actually not the worst alcohol for you, unless of course you have a problem with alcohol. Then any alcohol is the worst alcohol for you. But but yeah, it's a probiotic, so it's not the worst one.
I did not know that.
Yep. I mean, 10 of them are not good, but one is not is not bad.
Right. One might actually make you a little happier.
Yep, breathe a little easier these days for sure.
I know. So today we're talking about something very important, and especially now, I feel like even more, and I'm sure you're feeling that as well, which is toxic relationships,
Oh, for sure.
right?
For sure.
So start by telling us what is a toxic relationship.
Well, toxic relationship, first of all, doesn't just have to be your intimate relationship, like with your partner in life. A toxic relationship can be a girlfriend relationship with someone that you've been friends with. It can be a relationship in the family, and its simplest definition is it's a relationship that doesn't contribute equally in a healthy way, right? So you have two people who come together. They could have great intentions, but they do not bring out the best in each other, right?
Okay.
So it's a relationship that you often find yourself being very emotional about, and kind of going an up and down roller coaster with. And then at the end you're like, I don't know if I feel good when I walk away from interactions with this person. But then something great happens and it kind of pulls you back into it. you know you find another way to connect, and we start pulling each other back in. Doesn't mean it's the healthiest for us.
Right. Definitely. So how do we know? Because as you were saying that, I wanted to laugh because I was like, well, every Latin relationship is a toxic relationship because we're all so emotional.
No, 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 no.
But so how do we know? What are some of the signs?
Well, I always ask people, I don't know if you've noticed, but we have our friend Jennifer Pratt is like posting like the divorces of COVID, like the famous, I just saw one again this morning. People who are, quarantined together and it doesn't seem to be working out in their best interest. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Like, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of that after, this whole scenario. So, but I always tell people, like, when you are in a relationship, do you like who you are in that relationship? Because there are a lot of times we walk away from a relationship going, I don't like who I am when I'm around that person. That is a huge sign that something is not okay in that dynamic.
Right.
You can
Because
like
sometimes
others.
you leave somebody and you're like, man, I really want to spend more time with that person because I have this good feeling. And other times you just have to go take a nap.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. You have to go take a nap. You have to go like recharge yourself in another direction. And that's not to say, like, sometimes your best friend could really be going through something and you're so connected to that person that by the time you leave your interaction with them, you're exhausted too because you're just emotionally drained for that person.
Right.
That's very different, right? Because we're all going to experience that. I mean, I hope you have relationships that you experience
They're
that, because that means,
meaningful.
yeah, they're meaningful and that you have true connection. Um, but when most interactions, when you leave that person and you're like, man, I don't feel good about who I am every time I walk away from that. It's not a good interaction, right? You find yourself acting out angrily or more emotionally or irrationally every time you interact with them. That is an issue. It's an issue. Another great sign is that person blatantly puts you down. Never supports anything that you're doing. Never supports, how you're feeling. Never supports your emotional well-being. You get a promotion at work, they're like, "Oh, that's nice." Something great happens in your world and they've got to one up you.
Right.
What is that about? Like, who is this person in your world that you're letting in that doesn't support your wins?
Yeah, they should be cheering you on and not whatever jealous or
Yeah.
upset, whatever is going on in their lives, right? Like you're
Yeah.
not competing against them.
Yeah. I mean, excuse me, Dante, if you called me and said, "Oh, I got this great new account and it's huge and it's taking my line to a whole nother level," I would be having champagne with you, virtually, of course, until it's safe. But,
Okay.
I mean, I would be absolutely thrilled. I wouldn't be sitting there saying, "Well, my business seems to be slowing down. If I'm not going to be happy, you don't get to be happy either."
No Debbie Downers allowed.
Yeah. Poor all the Debbies in the world, right? Like those poor people, they got the shaft on the name, man. But But for sure, there are a lot of them out there, and women, we're really bad about that. Like, we do this to ourselves all the time, letting people in that are constantly in competition with us and not in support of us. You know?
So my mom is asking here. She goes, should we let this person know that he or she is doing it, and is it worth it?
Yeah. I mean, it's always worth the risk, right? I mean, I have said to people, like, this is how I feel about our friendship. And some people have said, you know what, I've been noticing the same thing too. And like, how are we going to shift this? And other people are like, well, I'm sorry you feel that way. And they walk away. I feel like those people did me a favor, right? I mean, both of them. Ooh, what if
Of
your
course.
family member is toxic?
Oh,
Yeah, that's the worst because most of us realistically are not going to disown a family member. You know, I mean, but we can set boundaries with them. You know, we can limit the type of interaction. We can also do some mind work on ourselves before we have an interaction with them. You know, if you walk in saying, I know this person is like this and they're difficult and they're this, I'm not going to carry that with me and I'm not going to feed into it during my interaction with them. Right. And that's a lot harder to do than it is to say because, you know, emotions get involved and it's family, but your boundaries are your biggest friend. I mean, I've talked to family members where I've said to them, you know what, on the phone, I'm like, I love you, but I'm all done with this conversation right now. I'll check in with you tomorrow.
yeah, that's probably the smartest thing to do when things get heated up, to just walk away if it's possible.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you know, you can't choose your family. This is true, but you can choose the interactions that you have with them. You know, if I know that a family member of mine is heavy into drinking, I'm going to make sure that when I am with them, I'm not drinking. And I get that the problem might not be mine, but I also don't want to be part of feeding into it in that moment. And that's going to be my boundary. And besides, if I'm not drinking, I'm probably a lot less likely to overreact to something. I mean,
Yes.
just being honest, whether it's one glass or 10, alcohol, you know, brings down our inhibitions and we're going to react, you know, probably more of the way we're feeling as opposed to the way we're thinking. So this is for me that when I walk away, I say, you know what, I feel good about how I handled that. Because you know what, guys, at the
Yeah.
end of the day, you're the only person sleeping in your head. Ain't nobody else wide awake at 3 o'clock in the morning beating themselves up for how they interacted with somebody except for us. Right?
Yeah. 100%. 100%.
I hate those 3 a.m. wake up calls. Those are the worst.
And then you're the one talking to yourself, so you can't shut it up.
Oh, I know. Trust me, I've tried. And can you imagine if we said nice things about ourselves at 3 o'clock in the morning? I probably wouldn't have a
You'd be
job.
superstar.
Yeah, we would be. We would probably go right back to sleep and we would be like, you know, I am just like an amazing human being. But oh no, no, that's not what we do. But for my moms out there, if your kid is awake at that time in the middle of the night, you're comforting them back to sleep with positive thoughts. We just don't do it for ourselves.
Hmm. So just pretend you're holding on to your kid and talk
Yep.
to them.
Oh, I always tell women, especially, talk to yourself the way you would talk to your child. Because the majority of us are not going to say demeaning things to our kids. We're just not going to.
And I don't have kids yet, hopefully soon, but the way we talk to our kids, or even the way we help a friend out, or someone who's going through something, we are their biggest cheerleaders. But
Yeah.
yet we find it hard to do that to ourselves
Oh,
because they deserve it and yet we don't, which is not how we think anymore. But we're changing the narrative. We
we're changing
definitely
that narrative. I mean, if my
are.
best friend says to me, God, I feel like I've gained so much weight, I don't say to them, well, you have, you fat ass. Like, I don't do that to anybody. But if I walk through the bathroom and I look in the mirror, I'm like, yeah, you know, the thought's not nice. And we're changing that narrative, but it's work for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So there's another question here, which I'm loving these. Thank you, ladies. What if other family members make you feel bad for not wanting to be around this toxic person? Assuming it's a family, like other families within the family.
You know what? I'm going to tell you this, and this is easier said than done. People can only make you feel bad with your permission, right? So if they're writing on you about it, they have an issue with something, not you. And chances are they have an issue with boundaries. So boundaries make people, as you know, we're all, I saw some people cheering boundaries on in the conversation. They're great and we love them, but they really will make some people very, very uncomfortable. They make you
Yes.
uncomfortable to set them, and they make you uncomfortable to receive them, right? So if someone is trying to make me feel bad about not wanting to hang out with a toxic family member, I have to remind myself that that person probably has their own stuff that they're going through that I'm not in charge of. And I'm not in charge of how they feel, how they interact, how they do any of that. But it doesn't mean that I have to succumb to it. You know, and it's hard for us not to, right? Because women,
Especially if it's a family member, let's say if it's a brother, a cousin, or someone close to us, you're like, how do you walk away from that person? How do you limit the amount of interactions that you have? Because you love them
yeah, of course you love them, but how much do you love you
more. Well, you
more?
should.
We should, we should,
That is one
or
of the things we talked about with on Thursday. We talked about self-love, right? And how everything starts with self-love, that you have to love yourself first before you can love others.
mm-hmm.
And unless you do, none of the other relationships will ever truly be 100%.
Yeah, no, we won't allow ourselves such a deep connection because we haven't even given that to ourselves, and then moms, how do you teach your children to love themselves when you don't practice self-love?
Yeah.
You can't say to them, that's something for you, but it's not for me, because those kids will call you out on that faster than anything. They'll be like, well, what about you, mom? How come you're sitting around not taking care of yourself, but I have to go run 6 miles? Yeah, they're not going to be hearing that. Maybe when they're like 3 and 4, they don't care. But
Because they
trust
don't
me,
understand yet.
mine just turned 16 yesterday.
I saw that. Congratulations.
Thank you. I am surviving. It's amazing. Mr. Grumbly Pants, who woke up yesterday morning so upset that we had the audacity to celebrate his birthday. 16 is weird, man. It's just weird. But it was great because his friends, I didn't do it. His friends organized one of those car parades through our cul-de-sac and threw toilet paper at him.
Oh.
It's awesome. Yeah.
That's
So,
awesome.
but at that age, they will certainly call you out.
Yeah.
Because they're looking for answers in life and they're looking to you for those answers.
So let me ask you something. How about, in this case where she's asking about family members making you feel bad, would you recommend, and this is something that I was taught a few years ago, where if you're feeling that someone's making you feel bad or that you're being put in certain situations, maybe wait until things are not as heated up and talk to them when you're not fighting, when you're not angry, or write them a letter. Like, what are some of the things that we can do to try and remedy these situations?
Well, I would definitely recommend that you have a conversation with that person when you're not in a heated moment, right? But you also have to understand that that may not change that person's mind,
Right.
right? Or they may say to you, yeah, I understand how you feel that way and agree with you on this side. But then when we're in front of that other person, we start changing it again, right? Because now we're stuck, we feel stuck in the middle kind of thing. So I definitely recommend having a conversation. I mean, but I'm upfront. If I feel like something is bothering me, I tell that person. I'm not going to sit around and let it fester, because then I'll really blow up at that person, given the opportunity to. So I would encourage you to have conversations, but I would also encourage you to have a conversation with yourself, right? So I know going into this, that person is toxic. When I'm there, I'm not going to absorb their toxicity. I'm not going to leave that conversation carrying their negativity. And I've got to create a mantra or anything like that in my head that I walk into that relationship and have those interactions with that person. Like, that crap is yours. It is not mine. And when we leave here, I'm going to go back to my happy pappy life and you go do you. You know, so you have a choice. If you're not going to disconnect from that family member, and realistically, most of us are not. You know, we're not going to just totally distance ourselves. I mean, we might be really enjoying this quarantine right now because we don't have to interact with that person so much. But realistically, we're not going to, you know, disown somebody. It takes a lot for somebody to disown a family member. So you're either going to have the conversation with them or you're going to have the conversation with you.
And probably both.
And probably both.
Because definitely one thing I've realized is, you know, on this journey of becoming a better person, becoming the better version of me,
Mm-hmm.
I started to realize more toxicity in other people, maybe because they're not working on themselves. So I feel like my level of acceptance of bullshit
Yeah.
changes.
You can say the word. It's okay.
You know, it started to change, and then the more you stop accepting these um interactions or people making you feel a certain way, like what you said at the beginning, is one of the signs is how do you act when you're around that person. When you
Right.
when you realize that you're not being your best self, you're like, I'm not gonna take this. I can't take it.
Yeah.
To the point you might blow up.
Yeah, no, exactly. Listen, if you're out there working on yourselves, right, and you're in whatever capacity that looks like, whether you're in therapy or you're in the gym or you're growing your business or whatever, you're reading self-help, I don't care what it is, and the people who are around you aren't in full support of that, you need to start relooking at your interactions with people, right? Because that means exactly what you started off saying, Tati, that they're not working on themselves,
Right.
right? So they're not in this position of growth. And maybe they're just not there right now, but maybe they also never go there. So you kind of have to decide, you know, which, what are you going to do? Because it's not about them at that point, it's about you.
Right. Yeah, because they might be okay with it or not willing to take the steps to change.
Right. Right.
So if it's a family member, right, obviously, like, how do you decide to leave a relationship like that? And we might be, like you said earlier today, where Jennifer's posting more about divorces. So you might be realizing that maybe the person that you're quarantined with is driving you crazy. Hopefully not.
Hopefully
Or you
not.
might have a family member, right? So that one's really close, maybe like a mother, father, brother, sister. And then you might have friends. Like, so there's different levels of relationship and how close you are to them. It might be easier for you to let go of a friend, well, not necessarily, but than a family member just because of the blood connection there.
Right.
Like, how do you,
So,
are there signs that are more important than others, and how do you walk away from it or not? Like, what do you do?
so you, first of all, everybody's limit is going to be different, right? So I had a friend a few years back that we were pretty close, except that she got to this point where she started telling me that she hated her kid. Hated him. The kid's 18, going through a lot of stuff, which by the way was created by his parents, heavily, right? And I talked to her, I'm like, I can't, you know, I work with the children that people hate. Like I make those repairs in people's lives. Like I don't want to be in a friendship with somebody who I'm watching actively create it. So I had to end the friendship. I had to finally say, like, that's my limit. Like I can't be in a friendship like that with you. But probably the biggest thing to look at is signs of abuse happening in the relationship, right? So it's one thing if it's toxic because we, you know, we both feel negative and maybe we can pull each other out of that and we can work on that together. But somebody who's abusing you isn't suddenly going to say, oh, you know what? You're so right. I shouldn't be doing that to you. Like, let's move on. And, you know, now it's all sunshine and rainbow shit. Like, that's not probably going to happen. Right. So, and abuse comes in many, many forms. Somebody could be emotionally abusing you. And as women, they're far less likely we are to look at that than if somebody hauls off and actually physically abuses us. Because then we are like, oh, look, there's a bruise. That's a sign that something's wrong. But,
Right.
you know, I don't care who you're in an intimate relationship with. If you date men, women, or in between, it doesn't matter to me. That person, though, should make you feel like the most amazing person on this planet. Like the hottest, most wanted, smartest, sexiest, whatever it is, they should make you feel that way. It should be their job. Okay. And so when they're not, and instead they're out to make you feel, because they don't do it without your permission, right? But they're out to make you feel like crap. We've got to reevaluate that.
Yeah.
You know, so some of the biggest signs to look for is abuse. I mean, nobody deserves to be abused. Well, I don't know. Maybe we could go off on a political tangent, but I won't. But
We're
nobody.
talking about healthy, toxic, but making them healthy relationships. So in this context, no one should
Yeah.
be abused. And
Nobody
I feel
should
like
be.
an emotional abuse is much more difficult to heal than a bruise. A bruise goes away. Words never do.
Yeah, because you'll carry those words in your head, right? You'll there's a great book, and if nobody's read it, I can't believe you haven't read it, but you really should. And it's called The Four Agreements. And I that's like my all-time favorite book. And every time I either read it or listen to it, I always get something new. But my favorite thing is that we should never take anything personally, right? Because and that nobody will abuse you as badly as you abuse yourself. So someone calls you ugly, let's say, and you take that and you start running with it in your head. You will magnify that like times 10 at least, right? So now you're abusing yourself far worse than that person. And that's why we're less likely to look at it, because we might already feel ugly. That person's just being open and honest with us, right? They just want
Yeah.
us to know the truth. Isn't that nice of them? That's so sweet.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, bless your heart. I mean, come on. Yeah.
But see, so here's the question, I guess. If we're already abusing ourselves, which unfortunately many of us do,
Yep.
how do we how are we able to say I can't let you abuse yourself, but I can't let you abuse me, but I'm already abusing me.
Right. So I'm sorry. What's the question? Where's my coffee? I missed the question in that.
So we start with ourselves, right? We stop because the minute we stop, we might have a bigger threshold to let someone abuse us if we're still abusing ourselves.
Oh, 1,000%. So everything that you do, you are the source of everything in your life, right? You are 1,000% responsible for everything that you're involved with, because it all starts with you. Okay, so if I feel badly about myself, that starts with me. I'm more likely to be in relationships where I allow others to reinforce that. And I'm more likely to reject relationships where people try to tell me differently. So it's not all of these things that are happening in our world are not about everybody else. They're about us. So if you're not doing the work on you, we can't just sit around and constantly blame other people for making us feel bad. You're not 5. You're not stuck in a house with an abusive parent at the age of like 4 or 5 years old where you can't get out. That's a whole different story. But if you're an adult who's capable of making decisions, the first decision you've got to make is, how are you going to feel about you?
And then the minute you make that shift, it becomes a lot easier to walk away from toxic relationships or change them.
Yeah. I mean, and it takes courage. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. People will people will tell me, but I'm afraid, and I'm like, well, do it anyway. You can still be afraid. I never said you weren't gonna feel fear, right? But you can tuck that fear in your back pocket and say, okay, I might be afraid, but I'm still gonna do this, right? You can feel afraid. You don't have to live afraid. There's a big difference.
That's a good point. It's a great point.
Yeah. I mean, when somebody, I use this example because actually tomorrow's the 13th, right? Yeah. So tomorrow is like the 4-year anniversary of my dad passing, right? Thank you. It's sad. And I can feel sad, but I'm not going to live all day sad tomorrow. You know, I'm not going to make
Tomorrow, I
every
feel like that is
interaction.
life.
I'm not going to make every interaction sad, but I can certainly feel that way. I can, you know, miss him. I can do all kinds of things. But if you're living sad or you're living fear, then the feeling has you. You no longer have the feeling. It's in control of you, right? But if you can feel sad or fear or whatever emotion you want to put in there, but you're not living that way, then you have it. You're in control and you're responsible for it. And
That
that's a far more powerful way to live, my friend. I promise you
yeah.
that.
So, and I was gonna say, like, with everything that's going on in the world right now, with this coronavirus, I feel like fear is something it's being put into our minds every everywhere you go, everything you watch, everything you hear. It's this like fear, 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 and how many people are reacting to it in a way that's negatively versus saying, no, I'm not gonna live this way. Gonna continue to be. I'm not saying not to be careful, but I'm saying like that this fear. How does that change your dynamic? How does it change your day to day? It's
Well,
terrible.
you know what? The fear is what's keeping a lot of people in toxic relationships because they'd rather be with somebody than be alone right now. Right? So that's a big sign that we are living in fear versus feeling fearful about what's going on. So it's actually fear, when there's something going on in the universe, whether I was talking to my kid about this the other day at 9/11, different things that happened like that created a great deal of fear. People banded together in ways that were very, very positive, right? But also, banded together in ways that were negative because they were too fearful to do anything different because they were afraid that they would then be alone. So we make decisions for ourselves every day, guys. And if you decide that, I'm not saying don't be careful, because trust me, I was masked, I was gloved. I wipe everything down with Clorox wipes. I never even thought I would buy a container of Clorox wipes because I feel like they're bad for the environment, but I have like 40 of them now, So I'm doing all of that too, right? Because I'm not stupid. I don't want to be stupid, but I'm not sitting in my house, terrified to take a step out the door. It's just, I'm not going to live that way. I'm not going to teach my children to live that way either. I mean, if they started school tomorrow, am I going to send my kid back? No. You think I trust a 10-year-old to stay 6 feet apart from her best friend? Her best friend
Not
lives in the
happening.
neighborhood. The closest they get is a Zoom call because they'll be hugging on each other. Forget about it.
Yeah, no. Even us as adults is difficult.
I know. It's crazy. It's
Yeah,
crazy. I miss people.
I know. I know. But I'm loving the idea of a sheet and ghost hugs.
Yes, the ghost hug. Exactly. I thought that would, I bawled my eyes out watching all these moms, with their kids coming out of the hospital on the front lines there, wrapping them up in sheets. I saw one where this grandma put this whole plastic coating thing on her, like a little 4-year-old grandchild, so that she could hug her dad, who was a police officer. Oh, what a mess. I was just,
Good thing I didn't see it because I'd probably still be crying right now.
it makes me want to cry right now. It's hard.
Yeah.
For sure.
So back to the toxic, well, not back, but continue on the toxic relationships. I feel like I've seen where it just becomes a cycle in families
Mm-hmm.
where that's what you see, that's what you've been raised with, maybe you might see your parents or your grandparents. Are you destined to repeat that cycle? Could that be the reason why you're in some of these relationships?
Well, we do what we know, right? And whatever we learn becomes a comfort zone, even if we logically recognize that it's bad. Okay, so that's where the self work comes in. If you're not doing self work, then you are going to repeat a lot of the behaviors, even though you hated them, because you haven't built up something within you to do something differently. You can't just stop doing something. You need to put something in its place. Okay. So even if someone is an alcoholic, I say to them, well, you can't just stop drinking. You got to put something else in that place. So maybe it's working out. Maybe it's reading. Maybe it's meditation. I don't care what it is. But at 2 o'clock in the morning, when you'd normally be kicking back a bottle, you need to have something that you put there, not just sitting there telling yourself, don't drink, don't drink, don't drink, right? Because that you're going to end up drinking for sure.
You don't want to drink
So,
more than because
right,
you.
exactly. You may end up drinking even more. So you we're only destined to repeat things that we don't put something in differently, right? And get uncomfortable with that comfort zone. So if setting a boundary has been horribly uncomfortable for us, and I get for a lot of people, it really is. I totally recognize that. But if it becomes really difficult for us, then we're probably going to slip back to an old pattern of not setting boundaries. You know, if we grow up in a house where our father abused our mom and we're a young girl growing up, we may very likely pick somebody similar, because if my mom stayed, it was good enough for her. It's probably good enough for me.
Yeah.
You know?
And
So
if you're, I don't want to interrupt you, but if you're, not necessarily like a physical abuse, but if your parents, right, if that's what they did, and now you're trying to break away from it, and you talk to them, but they're still in that relationship, that might be even more difficult because they don't see that it's wrong, or they're not accepting to walk away from it.
yeah, you know, they'll say, well, you know how he or she is, right?
Or yeah, or I'm too old to change.
Oh, yes. Or I'm too old to be on my own, right? You know, and it doesn't bother me the way it bothers you. All of those lies people have fed themselves, right? So it gets reinforced, but that's not your life, that's theirs. You know, and that's where that self-work comes in, and it becomes really important to realize that's their life. They made choices. They are 1,000% responsible for that. If I'm looking for something else, who am I going to put in my toolbox that's going to help me get the other way? If I surround myself with women who are also being abused, who are staying in an abusive relationship, versus aligning myself with women who maybe got out of one and what they did to escape, then I'm destined to constantly repeat. I mean, the expression is misery loves company. And the expression is very real, because people will stay connected with something so that they don't have to change, even if it makes them miserable.
Because it's easier and it's comfortable, right? Like they know what they've already learned to live with that.
Yeah. People who are overweight oftentimes won't exercise or take on doing something because they've learned to become comfortable with that. Even though you watch them physically struggle with something, like getting up and down or going upstairs or playing with their children, they've come to a comfort zone that has become easier for them. You know? Doesn't mean they're happy. It just means they're comfortable.
Which is a very big difference.
It is a very...
You need to start learning to accept that. Are you comfortable or are you happy?
Yep. And what do you want more? You know, do you want to be happy or do you want to be comfortable? Like, what's bigger for you? I mean, if it's Saturday night and I'm hanging out on a couch, I want to be comfortable. But when Monday drops and it's go time, I want to be happy.
Exactly.
You know, so there are moments where comfort is great. I'm very comfortable in my relationship with my husband, very comfortable, right? But I'm also very happy. And so those things can go hand in hand when they're healthy.
Keyword there, healthy.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, for people, relationship to be healthy, you got to have two healthy individuals. Otherwise, what you've got is a bad case of shared psychosis, where you're both unhappy or you're both miserable and you're just feeding off of each other.
Yeah. So I have this calendar that it's like a positive affirmation, just different quotes. It's a healthy fit calendar.
Oh yeah.
And yesterday's, it said, I don't diet. I eat according to my goals.
Oh, I like that.
Right? And I was like, wow, that's pretty awesome. I need to start. You change your mind. You shift something in your brain where you're like, you know what? This is actually delicious. Let me eat this instead of those Oreo cookies, which I'm never giving up, by the way. But maybe just not every day.
Maybe not every day. Exactly.
And this week too, I started getting those emails from Kevin's quotes,
Oh yeah, yeah.
and they're amazing. Um, and it said, like, are you doing things according to what you want your future to look like? Like, are those the
Yes.
actions that you're taking, right? And so that goes for everything in your life. It doesn't have to be just your diet, but because your relationships, when we're talking about toxic relationships, everything we do in those 24 hours is a relationship of some sort, whether it's a
Correct.
relationship with food, a relationship with your parents, a relationship with your siblings, your husband. These are all relationships. With the
Hmm.
gym.
Yeah. You can have very toxic relationships with food. You can have a very toxic relationship with the gym. I had to talk to a client yesterday who's working out 3 times a day. I'm like, okay, whoa, Nelly, like that's a lot.
Yeah.
You know, you're not in a competition right now. She's not a bodybuilder. She's not anything like that. And like, it's become this obsession. I'm like, this is not okay. Like, working out is great. And if you
Mm-hmm.
get up every morning and you're like, it's go time. Like, my husband left me sleeping this morning, which is how I know I love him. And he went for a run, right? He's like, I'm going for a run. I'm like, goodbye and good luck. Like, have fun. Um, I mean, that's one thing, right? But when it becomes your obsession, it's a whole different thing. When food, you're hiding what you're eating, or you're just eating things that make you, mentally think that you feel better, and they're not aligned with your goal, that's a toxic relationship. I was listening to a health podcast, and this girl grew up in a very, her father is the owner of the Primal Blueprint, and very health conscious family and all this thing. Her mom is a psychologist. She said all of a sudden she realized one day that she became obsessed with eating so clean that it became a disorder. So even what you designate as healthy in your life, whatever that food plan is for you, I'm not here to argue that, but if it becomes that obsession, we're developing a toxic relationship with it, and it's time to take a
Extreme,
step back.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe eat the Oreo. Get over it, people.
So good.
I know. I was at BJ's yesterday, and I was like, I will not buy Oreos. I will not buy, and I did not buy them. I was very proud
Good.
because they would be disappearing in the middle of the night. I just know it.
So let's I want to leave our followers. We still have, a little bit of time, but I want to like kind of wrap it up. Like if someone is in a toxic relationship, and like we've been saying, if you feel like you're deep in something, please call for help,
Yeah.
right? Um, and if you are in a abusive relationship and right now you're stuck at home with someone, do you know if there are is there like a hotline or something that people can call if they're obviously they can
Women
call
in
you
distress.
and I hope they do, but if it's gotten to like
Yeah.
an extreme.
Yeah. You can still, women in distress is still working. They've got vouchers to put women in safe places. So they're still definitely an option. So if there's abuse going on, there is definitely help for you, right? So, but if you are feeling like you are stuck, and the relationship maybe is not abusive, but you don't feel good in it, and you recognize that it's toxic, whatever that relationship is, get professional help. There's no reason for anybody to do things on their own. I mean, especially now, you don't even have to leave your couch for help. Like, you don't have to sit on my couch. You can sit on your own couch, right?
Right.
So get some help. And if you're not ready to reach out for help, reach out to a person in your life that you do admire. right? That you view as a healthy, individual who's got their flaws, because everybody does, right? But that you see them as a positive influence in your world. And maybe you just want to start reaching out to them and having virtual coffee with them, right? Or just finding different ways to connect with them. Telling somebody that you could use a friend right now is okay. And it doesn't matter if you've got 30 other friends lined up, but that one person that you view as just being a positive resource in your life, you make sure you use all your resources, all of them. Like my kid was struggling with math a couple months ago, and I was like, have you used all your resources? Well, I asked my friend and I asked this. Our family best friend is a freaking math teacher. Did he call him? No. So I just kept saying, did you use all your resources? Have you used them? And finally I'm like, did you call Mark? Oh, no. Then freaking stop watching.
And I'm laughing, but I see that sometimes the answer is right in front of us. We have these resources, but we're either embarrassed, ashamed, afraid to reach out. And yet that person would be honored, right?
Yeah.
A lot of times they're just more than happy. Like when is the last, and I say this to myself, and I've had this in conversations. When is the one time you've reached out to someone that you needed them and they've said no to you? When someone feels that you need their help, they're not going to say no. They're going to help you.
I have reached out to people that I didn't even think would be interested in helping me, and they've not said no. Right? I mean, there are just those times in everybody's life where we're reaching out. Yeah. And, we learned that young, because I was, excuse me, working with a teenage girl yesterday. And I said, well, how come you don't share your stuff with your friends? And she said, well, I don't want to burden them. I said, so do they share their stuff with you? And she said, yeah. And I said, wow, that must be such a burden. And she's like, no, I find, and she goes, oh, now I see what you're saying. I'm like, yeah, we start young with that.
Yeah.
But especially for women, we don't want anybody to know that we're not superwoman. I mean, but I'm going to tell you right now, you're not. Like, I don't know any actual superwoman who didn't need help.
Yeah, who has a team of other women behind her helping. It doesn't have to be women, but
No.
most of the time it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Listen, I have a team of all different kinds of people, and I reach out to different people for different things. Right. So I know my friend that's going to be supportive about a marriage situation. I know my friends who are supportive about a kid, the business, or just a general kind of funky mood thing, right? Or fitness goals or whatever. And I know who to reach out with to. I'm not going to reach out to my friend who drinks beer every Friday night and complain about my gut because I'll be drinking beer with them. Like that's no, like that. Just do things that make sense.
Right.
Right? Is it aligned with your goal? And then make that choice. But first, you got to decide what your goal is. So maybe that's our next topic.
Oh, I know. I love how we start talking and there's all these things that we can talk about.
I know.
And one of the things when I first reached out to you, right, like for us to start doing these was because I wanted to, obviously we're a clothing company, but especially during these times, like we're always trying to do our best to support women and bring content. But when this quarantine started, I was like, Yvonne, we need to bring something to these people that's going to be valuable, right? And it brings me joy in my heart because we received messages and I've shared some of them with you where people would just reach out to me on our DM and be like, thank you so much. I was going through such a hard time and I needed to hear this. Or even if we're bringing awareness that it's okay to reach out for mental health, because I still feel like that's a big stigma out there. Like not everybody's
1,000%.
comfortable with that.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's one thing that we can do to bring some light into people's lives, of like, hey, just talk to someone. Like you and I are talking here, and there's so much to talk about. And when you start from the inside and you heal your mind, you heal yourself, we change the world.
We do. Yeah. We at least change our world.
Which is what we see, right? Is how we perceive things is our world, and then
And
one
your
step
world
at a
is just
time.
as important as anybody else's world. So why not create the world you want to live in? And are you going to do it beautifully, perfectly, 100% of the time? No, because that's weird. That'd be really weird. And then I wouldn't have a job. And then I'd have to come. Actually, I wouldn't mind coming to work for you. I know nothing about fashion, is why I just shop where people tell me to shop. By the way, it's my Equilibrium shirt. We love it. It's open in the back, super comfy. My daughter wants to know what other color it comes in. I'm like, get a job, kid, and you can buy it. But you know, we've got to create a world that we want to live in. That's important. But you got to decide what that world looks like first, because otherwise you're not moving toward anything. You're flailing.
So we're going to leave them today. We're saying if you are in a toxic relationship and you can talk about it to the people that you're in the relationship with, start setting those boundaries, right? Start having these conversations.
Yep. Have the conversation with yourself first. What are you going to take in from that interaction, and what are you going to leave there? Remember who owns that. That's important. You know?
And if they need help, call you. You'll help them. You'll help everyone who's willing to come up with how to talk to that person too, right? Because sometimes it's easy for you to say, okay, this is what I'm going to say. And then you show up to that conversation or you meet with them and it's a whole nother ball game.
Yeah, right. You've got to, again, you can feel fear, but you can't live in fear. Right. And you also have to understand that maybe your interaction won't change a thing with that person, but that's okay too. Because you're not there to change that person. It'd be great. I'd love to change some people, but that's not my job. It's their job.
So, but if you walk away from that conversation, or at least that mind change that you've determined to, make a difference, then you might not feel as bad when you walk away, or you might realize that you were a better person when you were there.
Yeah. No, 1,000%. And you realize that you have the courage to do something. That's very empowering, right? If I had something that terrified me that I went forward and I did, like I'm going to throw you under the proverbial bus, Miss Tati.
No.
This is the perfect ending to this show. For all of you watching, this girl would have died to do a live show. I cannot tell you that by the time I got her onto the lipstick attitude and she was shaking, she was whatever, but she did it anyway. That is the most primo example of feeling something but not living there. And now I get these text messages that say, I'm addicted to doing this live show. I'm loving this. This is amazing. This is the best feeling ever. Right? And all it took for you was to make that decision to do it anyway.
Yeah.
And I remember the first time you had to do a 2-minute commercial. I think it was like 2 minutes. She's calling me the night before. She's like, I can't do it. It's a commercial for her own business, right? But I'm not even teasing you, because the majority of people are totally afraid to do that. Yeah. And I remember I just sent her back this message that said, at the time, I said, there's a whole room of women there who have your back. And that's all you need to remember when you walk in there. And it was very true, right? Yes. So she now is up here running her own live show. Like, that's freaking awesome. You should be very proud of yourself.
Thank you. I feel the difference. I've changed, and it started with me. I had the help of women like you and a whole room of women that are supporting me.
Yeah.
But it started from the inside, and I'm loving it. Well, it didn't start with me. You women made me do it. And once you made me do it.
We did, but you know what? I've never thrown you into a room full of people who would have torn you apart and said, oh, they have your back, right? Because I don't set people up to fail. It's not my jam. Like, I'm not looking to make clients for myself. So, but, you did. But you still had to make the decision to do it.
And it was, I remember when you sent me that text, it was such a relief, because it was such a different way of looking at it. I was like, well, they're not there to set me up for failure. They're here to help me be bigger and better. Help me be my best version.
Yeah. And look where you are now.
Loving it.
Awesome. Yeah, yes, Mom. Tati is a superwoman. Your mom says you're a superwoman.
Oh my goodness, look at all these things. I guess it just stopped. Um, if anyone was writing or asking, I didn't see anything
No, I didn't
like
see it either.
on my
Now,
screen. Well, yes. So this was amazing. We will continue to do it. For those of you watching or that get to watch it, because we do post this on our Instagram TV every Saturday. It goes up there, so the talk will be there for those of you who did not get to watch it. If you have questions, if you need help, reach out to us. Right? I will connect you with Yvonne, or you can reach out to her directly. We're here to help.
absolutely. If you have ideas or things that you want us to talk about, please throw them up there too. We're here to serve you.
Yes. Alrighty, beautiful.
All right, sunshine.
Happy Taco Tuesday with
Happy
those
Taco Tuesday.
tequilas.
Oh, remember, it's a probiotic, everybody. It's a probiotic. It's kind of good for you, even. But that's my excuse, and I'm sticking with it.
Look into it. Hey, okay.
All right, everybody. Until next
Love
time.
you. Bye.
Bye.